Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, members of the Chevalier family. A warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Sister.
Thank you.
Welcome. Our presenter for this webinar is Sister Merly, FDNSC from the Philippines. Currently, she is a member of the FDNSC General Council in Rome. She has been a resource person for COVID since its existence. Also had been a resource person in Asia, Pacific, Australia, European countries, giving seminars on Mary, Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. Her expertise is on Marian theology. So Merly, I warmly welcome you to your presentation. But before you continue on, I would like to continue to lead us with the opening reflection first. Thank you. To bring our thoughts and be present to one another via Zoom. So reflection from Father Chevalier. O Mary, obtain that our hearts be made one with the heart of Jesus and with yours, which is like his in everything. So we listen to the Memorare.
Present our petitions to Him. Let us live like you in the love of your Son, that His kingdom may come. Lead us all to the source of living water, that
Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen. Thank you. Really, it's now to you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Corvite, and welcome to everyone. You hear my voice? Yes, thank you. So, good morning from us, from this side of the world. Good afternoon to those who are in Asia, and good evening to those in the Pacific, Australia. Welcome to this last module in this series of Corvite seminars. So before we go to our topic for today, which is Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, I first would like us to put ourselves within the context of this series of webinars. To refresh your memory, this series has been running for 6 months. It started last July, and every month, Corvite, through an invited speaker, offered one module every Saturday of the month. Now, we were experimenting yesterday, and we'd like to launch a poll. No, it's like you will see it appear on your screen, and it will just ask you how many sessions in this series have you attended. So just to help you remember, the first session was in July. It was given by Father Mick McGuire, a Colomban. The next one was in August. It was given by Chris Chaplin. The third one was in September, and it was given by Father R.C. Lumikid. The fourth one was in October. It was Sister Sophie Francis who gave it. And the last one last month was given by Father Ben. So those are 5. This one is the 6th one. So I'll launch the poll. We'll ask you to answer it. No, it just asks you how many of the sessions you have attended. So it's like 5 out of the 5, 4 out of the 5. If it's your first time to come today, then it's 0 out of 5 for you. Okay, are you ready? So let's see. I'll launch the poll.
Yes, sister.
Okay. After you answer, you submit. Thank you for those who have submitted. Yes, they are coming. So hopefully, 25 out of 36 participants have participated. We'll give time to those who may be struggling. Good.
Oh, dear.
That's okay. If you missed one session, then you put 4 out of 5. Okay, 30 out of 36.
Come in. I'm
going to watch with Christine.
Go on, watch it with Christine. No, thank you.
Yes, that's right. So Grogol followed 5 sessions. Grogol, did you fill up the poll? Okay, 31 out of 37. Yeah. So you think I can end the poll now?
Yes.
Okay. We end the poll. Sorry if there are 5 who were not able to participate, so maybe they have a problem with their screen. Okay. 32. Okay, good. Okay, we end the poll, and I'll share with you the results. Yeah. So you see it? Men, yeah? Out of 32, no? 34% have attended all the sessions. That's 11 people. 38% only missed one. About 16% missed two. Another 16% missed 3. Yeah. And we have 3 people who have attended 0 out of the 5, which means it's their first time to be joining us in this series. So those 3 people who are new, welcome to this series of webinars. Thank you. So I'll stop sharing now. So thank you for participating in our poll. No? It's good to see that many people have attended all of the webinars in this series. Now, so I just want us to go to do a little review of those 5 sessions. But now I will share my screen. But before that, do you remember what is the title of this series of webinars? You can write it on the chat if you remember. What is the title of this series?
Good teacher.
Write it on the chat, or you can unmute your microphone and tell me if you remember. In the meantime, I will try to share my screen. Not yet. Anybody remembers the title of our webinar? Yes, Leela?
Yes, I do.
Yes, who is that? What is it? Tell us.
Mary, Our
Good.
Lady of the Sacred Heart.
Thank you. That is the title of this session, Mary, Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. But the series, I think what has happened to this one? I think did you see? You've written it in the chat. Spirituality of the Heart Formation, Spirituality of the Heart in the 21st Century, Dealing with Emotions, Spirituality of the Heart. I'm sure Claudette was writing that. So, slideshow from the... Okay. So that's the title actually of these webinars. These webinars, this is the title that Core Vitae gave this series of webinars. Christ Before Our Eyes, the Spirituality of the Heart and the Human Heart of the 21st Century. And every month, they give us a paper to remind us of this, and of the objectives of this webinar series. Core Vitae, I see it as 2 parts. The first 4 months were about the human heart. Core Vitae wrote, in their monthly reminder to us, they write, the course seeks to discover who is the human person or the human heart of the 21st century. And to do this, on July 3, they invited Father Mick McGuire to talk about the human heart in the 21st century. Those who were present for that session, do you remember? Do you remember that session? Think of one thing. What was your takeaway? What did you take away from that session? The one of July 3 of Father Mick McGuire. If anybody could remember one thing at least, I invite you to share it with us. What do you remember from that first session? Anybody?
How to use our gadgets in our contemporary time. And I was more touched on how the formats are to use their cell phones in the formation. Can we take them away? Can we leave them, use them? Or how can technology help us to evangelize in this time?
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Lovis. So that was the takeaway of Lovis. No? In that session with Father Mick, she remembered that we were talking about the generation of the formans and therefore their relationship with technology, remember? Yeah. Can we take them away, etc. How about the others? Anybody else? One, what was your takeaway from that session?
Merely, some of them have their answers on the chat.
Oh, sorry. Oh, good. Thank you very much. Yes. Wait, let me. Bringing the generation gap. Bridging the generation gap by understanding the different generations. Traditionalists, baby boomer, Gen X, millennials, and we try to identify ourselves. Claudette says a greater understanding of the different generations, especially now that I'm older. True, huh? This is our main takeaway from that session, no? The different generations and the different characteristics. It brought us to a better understanding of these generations. Thank you. Thank you, sisters and fathers and brothers. The next one, focusing on the human heart, Corvite said, it seeks to understand how the 21st century heart deals with its own emotions, how it functions within a 21st century community life. And so on August 7, I think, they invited Father Chris Chaplin, MSc, and he spoke about dealing with emotions in community life. So again, what was your takeaway from that module? You can write it in the chat. Yeah, Sister Jean also wrote, we need to learn from others. So August 7, the session of Father Chris Chaplin, dealing with emotions in community life. Emotion is neutral. Anyone else? My takeaway there, one was when we say managing emotions, he said, whose emotions? And he said, our, first and foremost, it's our emotions, not the emotion of our sister or our brother or in community, but our own. Yeah? Yes, Helen, morning.
Oh, I was thinking that emotions are neither right nor wrong, as what you do with them. And I think that what I got, especially from Father's talk, was confronting our own emotions and recognizing them. And as you just said, not concerning that other person. I don't know, I don't care how she feels. I mean, I do care, but it's not my business. Yes. It's how I feel and how I respond to that other person.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Helen. Thank you. Yeah, Sophie said, using the clean statements in conversation, yeah. Renewal, thank you, Claudette. Renewal of much that I'd learned over the years and a greater appreciation of how to deal with those in community. We need to manage our emotions and tell the truth to others. Thank you. Next, after that August, September 4, Father R.C. Lumikid came because we wanted to see how the human heart manages differences and resolves conflicts. So Father R.C. Lumikid came with the topic managing differences and conflict resolutions. Again, anybody wants to share their takeaway from that module? I did. Who is that speaking?
Can I speak, please, Sister Jean from Africa?
Okay, Sister Jean, yes.
I still remember that we need to say our feeling. Yes. What is my feeling? Yeah. To say the truth about the feeling, and we can manage. Our feeling is sadness. Our feeling is happiness, and we need to manage it. What is the source of the the feeling. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Sister Jan. And in conflict with others, dealing with conflict with others, it's begin with how you feel, he says, no? Rather than blaming the others, we own our feelings. Thank you, sister. And people have written in the chat, from Verena, we need to sit and express our feelings maturely. I remember Father, no, since he said, since we will have conflict anyway, we have to learn how to do it in a just way, in a loving way. Sister Lopez, yeah. Okay, was there another chat? Yes, from Jaime, learning how to be assertive, respecting the other's feelings through practice, Okay, thank you. And then this one, I am one of those who was here for only 4 of the 5 sessions. I missed this one, but October 2, Sister Sophie came, no, to see how the human heart live for, with, and among others in this change of an era. And we're quoting from Pope Francis there, no? Pope Francis said, we're not just living an era of change, we are living in a change of era. So, anybody take away from that October 2 session? You remember?
Can I say something, please, Sister San from Africa?
Okay, Sister Jean. Yes.
I still remember, Sister Sophie said, we need to learn how to build the love in the community. Respect others. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The love.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Learning how to build love in the community. So those first 4 modules were on the 21st century human heart. And then what followed, was the second part, and the second part is more specific to the spirituality of the heart. No, the Cor Vitae paper says this series will conclude. So we entered the conclusion last November. It will conclude with reflections on the openness or readiness of the heart of the 21st century to be imbued with the spirituality of the heart. And this will be done through presentations on Saint Joseph, which was given by Father Ben Alforque last November, and Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, which is today's session. Now, one last, any takeaway from November, the November session? There's one more takeaway from the last one, the reality of isolating despite being in community. Okay. Thank you, Nila. So how about Saint Joseph? What are you bringing with you from the November session?
Merely.
Yes, Sister Helen.
I thought it was absolutely beautiful on St. Joseph, and the fact that St. Joseph was the man who held the silence of God. I thought that was magnificent, the man who kept the silence of God, that God didn't reveal anything to anybody except to Mary, and Joseph didn't, he kept this. I thought that was beautiful, the silence of God.
Thank you. And the person who wrote in the chat also, the richness of St. Joseph's silence. And I think we'd all remember that. The protector, no? Father said the protector of God's silence. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, Sister John, next time. Can you just write in the chat? And then so thank you. The silence, no? We bring that with us. Okay. Thank you. So those 3 whose first time it is to be with us, we hope that little review puts you into this whole journey of the series. And so I begin with today's topic. But before that, so the question that Cor Vitae gives us really is how open, no? So for the past 5 months, we've been looking at the 21st century human heart. And then they're saying, now we reflect on the openness or the readiness of this 21st century human heart to be imbued with the spirituality of the heart. How open is the 21st century heart to the spirituality of the heart? As I was preparing for this module, I decided to Google, to ask the help of Professor Google, and I Googled 21st century heart. And one of the things that Google gave me is a book. The book is called Lead from the Heart, Transformational Leadership in the 21st Century. I guess because the words heart and 21st century are there, Google gave me this book. It is written by Mark Crowley. I got curious, so I looked for the book. I bought it online. There it is. It's called Lead from the Heart, Transformational Leadership. And I listened to a podcast. I looked at the review. It's a non-religious book. It's from America, written by a banker, and he's into business. But he makes the case that treating others with humanness and care works for business. The author argues that the 21st century human being is motivated not so much by his mind, but by his heart. Crowley says it's all about feelings and emotions. We think we're rational people, but feelings and emotions are what drive people and motivate them to do work or not to do work, to be engaged or not to be engaged. And this layman is saying, if we are caring and supportive of people and truly empathetic and really and genuinely compassionate about what's going on in their lives, people can feel it and they would want to work hard for you. And then he goes on to give 4 practical tips for managers or for leaders. And these 4 things, he says, hire people with heart. Number 2, he says, connect with your people heart to heart. Number 3, he says, you empower the heart. And 4th, he said, you have to inspire the heart. Why am I sharing this? No? I read through the book. I found it very interesting, very practical also. But while reading, I thought, if we kindly mute your microphone, somebody. Okay, thank you. Okay. While reading, I thought, if we, the members of the Chevalier family, if we don't talk about, if we don't preach, or if we don't live out our spirituality of the heart, others would. This Mark Crowley is not a member of our Chevalier family. But he wrote the whole book. And I think of the practical application of the spirituality of the heart in business. Crowley, for me, is saying that the 21st century human heart is not only open to a spirituality of the heart, it is actually craving for it. It needs it. It is asking for it. And so we approach the end of this series of webinars confident that this charism, this spirituality, this mission that we received through Father Chevalier is not only relevant, it is actually essential. It is needed in our world today. So the question really is not so much how open is the 21st century heart, it is, but really how can we help make this heart become truly authentic and effective in living out the heart spirituality. And as members of the Chevalier family, I think this is our call. Now, how can we become more authentic and more effective missionaries of God's compassion, missionaries of God's love today? And so for me, this is where Mary comes into the picture, Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. I call her Mother, Disciple of the Sacred Heart. She is mother who intercedes for us, who points us to the heart of her Son. She's also disciple who accompanies us on our journey and models for us how to live as people of the heart. So I'd like to begin with some preliminary points, 3, before we focus on Mary. Okay, first, so the title of this module is actually the title of the whole series. It's Christ Before Our Eyes, the spirituality of the heart and the human heart of the 21st century. Through this series, our goal is to get a better understanding of the spirituality of the heart on the one hand, and the human heart of the 21st century on the other hand. What for? Because we want to know how the human heart can be imbued with the spirituality of the heart. We want to know how we can effectively form the 21st century heart in this spirituality, such that we will see it in action, that we will see the heart spirituality in the way we handle our emotions, in the way we deal with conflict situations, in the way we live in community, in the way we do our missions. And today we focus on Mary, Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, because we believe in the power of models, flesh and blood examples of people whose hearts are imbued with the spirituality of the heart. We look to Mary as a model, someone who can show us what the spirituality of the heart looks like. And we also want to see again how our devotion to her can make us more like her and more like Jesus, her Son. Again, Christ before our eyes. So we're not promoting a spirituality of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, because and we don't talk about, our spirituality is the spirituality of Our Lady. No, because we have only one spirituality. It's the spirituality of the heart. And devotion to Our Lady of the Sacred Heart is an integral part of this spirituality. This is what we believe. My second point, concerns our understanding of the charism that our founder, Father Chevalier, received. Here in Italy, groups like us, the Chevalier family, we are called Famiglie Charismatiche, or charismatic families. And the meaning is not about, charismatic movements, but really, charismatic families are groups united around and animated by the same charism. So the Franciscans, that would be one charismatic family, the Dominicans, one, the Ignatian family, the Chevalier family. So we are united around and animated by the same charism. So it is very important for me that this charism that unites and animates us as a family is clear to each one of us. People will ask us, Chevalier family, what's your charism? Oh, we have a beautiful charism. Yeah, what is it? Oh, it's really beautiful. What's your charism? It's beautiful, believe me. The truth is, we don't know how to explain it. Everyone, I presume, is familiar with the book of Father Caschelli, Jules Chevalier, A Man with a Mission. On page 110, he tells us that a charism may be described as a gift of the Spirit to an individual for the good of others. It brings the founder to focus on some particular aspect of Jesus' life, leading him to follow Jesus and to serve others for his love in a particular way. How will you explain this charism to others when they ask you, what's our charism? Back in 2008, I attended the International Assembly of the Laity of the Chevalier family in the Dominican Republic. One of the lay members asked this question to Father Nick Harnan. Father Nick, what is our charism? Please explain it to us in a simple way. And Nick brilliantly answered with a story. I was a listener and I will never forget that story. And it's a story I like retelling. And I see Jaime smiling because I know he has heard this story. I've told them before, I like retelling this story because for me it's simple, it is clear, and it explains what our charism means and what it implies for us. So for those who have heard it already, like Jaime, sorry, I will repeat it again. And for those who will hear it for the first time, here's how Nick Harnan explained to us what our charism is. So he says, you know, after Jesus died and before he ascended into heaven, he wanted to find a way to keep his memory alive and effective in the world. So he went up the mountain and called his followers to him. They came from all times and places, and Jesus began saying, "When I was living here on earth, I was a great teacher. I gave sermons and taught like no rabbi did. It is essential that this part of me be continued after I go." So a man from Spain, his name was Dominic, he raised his hand and said, "Lord, I will continue that part of you. I will begin an order of preachers, and together we will go to the ends of the earth, teaching and preaching like you did." And the Dominicans were born. Jesus continued, "Here on earth, I was a poor man. I had no home of my own. I lived simply like the lilies of the field and the birds of the air. In my poverty, I had a personal and intimate relationship with creation. A young man from central Italy stood up. He's dramatic because he's Italian. No? He took off his clothes. He dropped his mantle and said, "Here I am. My name is Francis. I will continue that part of you. And I will gather men and women in a life of poverty and love and respect for creation." The Franciscans were born. And Jesus went on, and for every part of him, someone stood up and volunteered to keep that part of his memory alive. Finally, Jesus said, "In becoming a human being, I was the incarnation of God, who is love. Any form of pain or suffering moved my heart with compassion. I treated everyone, especially the poor and the marginalized, with kindness and mercy. My love was the answer to the ills of society. Who would like to keep this part of my memory alive?" A parish priest from a small French town called Issoudun raised his hands and said, "I will. Lord, I have seen and believed in the greatness of your love, and I wish to share this with all. I will gather men and women, lay, religious, and priests, who will join me in keeping this part of your memory alive everywhere and forever." And so we, the Chevalier family, was born. Our charism, the gift that the Spirit gave to Jules Chevalier and to us through him, is Jesus, the love of God incarnate. That's our charism. And to keep this part of his memory alive, somebody has to mute their microphone. Okay. And to keep this part of his memory alive is our spirituality and our mission. And so that brings me to my last preliminary note before we focus on Our Lady. And it is how, no? So this beautiful gift, this beautiful charism, how can it become a reality? Like, how can it become a spirituality, a way of life? And how can it become a mission? Father Kaskeli gave us what I call a practical guide through what he calls the 4 movements of the spirituality of the heart. You will find them on page 128 and 29 of Man with a Mission, if you want to go back to them later. We have seen these 4 movements in the presentation of Father Chris Chaplin last August 7. And he presented them, no? So I look at them again with you in a slightly different way. I see them as a practical guide in living a spirituality of the heart. So what were these 4 movements? The first movement, according to Kaskeli, first movement, we go down to the depths of our own hearts, and there we see our profound need of life, love, and meaning. This movement I call the movement of awareness. We go down to the depths of our hearts and listen. What is my heart saying? What is happening there? What am I feeling? What are my concerns? The movement of awareness. The second movement, we then go to the heart of Christ. And in the heart of Christ, we find the answer to our questioning. I call this the movement of encounter. Having gone down to the depths of our hearts, we then go to the heart of Christ and we encounter the love of God. The third movement, we allow our hearts to be fashioned by the heart of Christ. And I call this the movement of formation. Our heart will then become like his heart, an understanding heart, open to, feeling for, and giving to our brothers and sisters in Christ. And then the fourth movement, we follow Christ. We follow Christ to love with the human heart, the movement of mission. Rooted in his love, we are not disheartened or discouraged in the face of difficulties. And it's like a spiral, it goes on. You go out on mission and follow the heart of Christ, and then you experience things, you then have to go back to awareness. You go down to the depths of your hearts again, and then you go to the heart of Christ and encounter him anew. And then you allow the heart of Christ to form your own heart formation, and then you go out on mission and follow him, and again, and again, and again. And our spirituality then becomes not only a story, a beautiful story from Nick Harnan, it becomes a story that our lives will tell. Awareness, encounter, formation, mission. That's how our charism becomes a spirituality. As we have already seen, the 21st century human heart is not only open to a spirituality of the heart, it craves for it. But for it to be imbued with this spirituality, it needs formation and accompaniment. It has to be guided, accompanied through these 4 movements of awareness, encounter, formation, and mission. And so we now reflect on Our Lady of the Sacred Heart and how she models for us these 4 movements. The first movement, we go down to the depths of our own hearts, the movement of awareness. The evangelist Luke gives us the image of Mary going down to the depths of her heart. I know you can guess what I'm referring to. The short text that we find in Luke chapter 2, verses 18 to 19. When the shepherds went to see the newborn child, they told his parents what the angel said to them. The evangelist Luke says, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. Then again, at the end of the same chapter, verses 50 to 51, when Jesus was found by his parents in the temple after searching for him in great anxiety for 3 days, the evangelist notes, but they did not understand what he said to them. His mother treasured all these things in her heart. We have the image of Mary pondering things in her heart. The short text gives us a picture of Mary who in the face of amazement, confusion, lack of understanding, ponders and treasures all this in her heart. Let us look at the two phrases, pondered in her heart and the phrase all this. What does the evangelist mean when she says she pondered or she treasured things in her heart? According to exegetes, it does not mean keeping it a secret. It also does not just mean thinking about it. It means something more like struggling with it, making sense of it, pondering it in order to hear what God is saying, to know where God is leading the person who ponders. So Mary, when she heard the story of the shepherds, she was amazed and pondered in her heart what was said. What are they saying? What will become of this boy of mine? How will this affect me and my whole family? What is God telling us? How do I feel about this? How is this affecting me? And when the boy Jesus told his parents, "Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" She treasured all these things in her heart. Mary pondered, maybe struggled with this in her heart and waited for the time when things were revealed, when these words became clear, when they began to make sense. Now we go to the second phrase, all this. What do we ponder on? What do we treasure in our hearts? Scripture says, all this, anything and everything that is happening to you, around you, inside of you. Mary teaches us to ponder all this, whatever this may be, especially these things that amaze you, that confuse you, that you do not understand, all this. The attitude of pondering before reacting, before responding, is an attitude we learn from Mary. It is the first movement in a spirituality of the heart. It is going down into the depths of one's heart. It is becoming aware. And in truth, it is an attitude of prayer. For it eventually leads us to asking, what is God saying to me in this situation? What is God asking me to do? And because we believe that God in the incarnation became flesh, He became material creation. God in Jesus became one of us, a part of this earth, an element of the cosmos. Then we also believe that there is nothing outside of God or beyond God's interest or God's concern. We can and we must bring to prayer anything and everything. So this first movement of awareness, going down to our own hearts, of pondering all this in our hearts, inevitably leads us to the second movement, that of encountering the heart of Christ. Before we go to the second movement, I invite you to practice this movement. So I invite you for 5 minutes to just be silent and to go down to the depths of your own hearts and listen to your heart. If you want to take note, listen to the movements that you feel, that you perceive in your own heart. After 5 minutes of silence, Father Ben will send you to dyads, and you'll have 5 minutes just to share whatever you may want to share with your partner. But first, 5 minutes of silence to go down to the depths of our own hearts.